Hey, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. As always, it is delightful to have you with us this week.
Hmm.
Hey, you know what? We could talk about interest rates. We could talk about market statistics, but you know what everybody else is talking about?
We know.
The possibility that the federal government is going to shut down here midweek. And what kind of impact is that going to have on our local real estate market?
Yes, we really wanted to focus in on that. So, just to give you a little starter, the federal shutdown potentially means that the funds going to federal workers, the big organizations and departments, would end. My understanding is that they do have funds to probably operate a couple more days to a week after if it happens. But eventually, what happens is that some employees will actually have to either continue working without getting paid and then get reimbursed at the end if they do come to a resolution, then they would get back pay. But what we really wanted to focus on is this area, Northern Virginia and real estate, and focus in. So what it meant, what we looked into was how many people living in Northern Virginia actually work for the federal government or are contractors. Figures vary, but it usually what we've been finding is anything between 10% and 30% of the population, which
Wow,
is pretty
that's
significant
significant.
considering that half are kids going to school, but these are families being impacted, right? And so when you look at those numbers, what we're saying from a real estate perspective is the market will change a little bit. And I think it's just a hesitancy and I think it's temporary. And I think that's the important thing. Some people who are in the process of buying right now will probably be hesitant to continue the process, or they just want to see what is going to pan out.
Yeah, it's kind of a wait and see attitude. And we see this through a lot of things. You know, election years are kind of that way as well. Like, let's see how this all shakes out. And it kind of reminds me, I mean, of something that we've talked about very often, which is basically consumer confidence, right?
Yes.
Confidence in the economy, confidence in the marketplace, confidence in the areas that they live. And in Northern Virginia, we've often said that, you know, the federal government does help insulate this marketplace. But we've been through a lot of, you know, kind of stress this last year. And this will probably continue to be more stress added.
Yes.
Even if it's for a short period of time, I think people kind of get a little tired of going through this. So consumer confidence is probably one of the biggest hurdles I think that we'll continue to go through. And we're at a point, you know, as we come into the fall market,
Yes.
in which we're building up that confidence. There's a lot of talk about lowering interest rates. There's more inventory for the buyers that are now coming out to see. So consumer confidence is one of those things that, you know, we never really want to see any dings on that because that's what really drives our marketplace.
For
I mean,
sure.
certainly prices, interest rates, inventory, all that is a benefit, but it's the consumer confidence that's so important.
Yes, and thankfully, I think the buyers who are already going through the process are going to continue through the process. However, those who are relying on loans that are backed by the federal government, like the FHA, the VA loans, those type of mortgages will be affected. It might be delayed, not necessarily will fall apart, but definitely lenders should have a backup as to how they're going to deal with that backlog.
Yeah, because there's going to be fewer people looking and administering those loans. And so, therefore, you can probably anticipate whether it's a VA funding, FHA, this USDA program that we become so fond of, there's just going to be less eyes being able to handle this. So, potentially could expect that. One other statistic, which we found kind of interesting too, is there's going to be less statistics that are being reported.
Yes.
From these government agencies with less people reporting to work. And some of those are becoming quite important. We have another Fed report at the end of October, that's the 28th and the 29th. And those numbers are compiled through, you know, September into, you know, roughly mid-October. So the CPI, the Consumer Price Index report, will be coming out just before mid-month. So it's the collection of the, you know, inflation numbers. It's the collection of the unemployment numbers, I'm sorry. And so therefore, a lot of this gathering may be somewhat hampered and impeded if there's not enough people there to take a look at them.
Yes. At this time, we still don't know what's going to
Yeah.
happen. All of this is just speculative. We really don't know what's going to happen, but we thought it would be interesting because it's what's on all the news channel, is what
Yeah.
everyone is talking about, that we just give our perspective on the real estate market. We know a lot of our clients are starting to look seriously into looking, and some have their homes on the market for sale. So we thought it'd be a good discussion to have for sure.
Yeah, and again, as we continue to do the open houses on the weekends, there are more and more buyers that are coming out, and I think more and more optimistic buyers. So we'll certainly keep you informed as to what we see. We've got 2 open houses this coming weekend. We'll report back. Hopefully this will be resolved in short order, but you never know, in years past, this lingered on a little longer. So next week we'll have a full report. And if you have any questions at all, you know where to send them, because we can either make up the answers or actually go find the real answers. But stay tuned.
Yes, if you have any if you ever want to reach us, all our contact information is below. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
So until next week,
We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.